Welcome to my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast with me, Tiffany Jo Baker, where we help you experience God's power and rest in your purpose and progress as you move forward step by step in all the things God has called and created you to do at home and around the world. Hello, y'all, and welcome back to my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast with me, Tiffany Jo Baker. Today, we're going to be talking about the power of play for every member of your family, including you. Even you, mom, even you, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, sibling, all the things. Play is so powerful, and we're just going to talk about even what Jesus has to say about play and what God desires for our life in the form of play. So don't turn this off. I have brought with me Joy Wendling, who is a play advocate and a parent coach to talk about all the things play. Joy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
If y'all are watching this on YouTube or Spotify or wherever the video is, Joy has the best play sign behind her that's bright and playful and cheery, and it matches her outfit. And so y'all know she is bringing some joy and sparkle into her family, into her own life. And I love the correlation that she even gives with play and our relationship with God. So before we get started, let me just share a little bit about how others who know Joy best might introduce her. Her husband might say that she's a perpetual learner and hobby collector. Her kids might say that she's weird, but in a good way. And that's like excellent for our children. Her clients might say that she's encouraging. Her friends might say that she's a prayer warrior. And she would say that she doesn't fit in a box, but she's made in the unique image of her creator. I love that. Joy, mom of 5, lives on an island in the Pacific Northwest. We're talking, I was asking, I was so curious and nosy asking her about her life on an island. So as we start this, what are some fun things on the island that you live on that you can do to play?
Well, one of my favorite things is whale watching. So yes, I have.
My goodness.
This has only happened once, but I have seen an orca from inside my house using binoculars, just looking out at the water.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so we will sometimes during the summer just drive around the island and kind of chase where people are posting whales are. There's lots of whale watching tours. We have stellar sea lions, and it's all sorts of wonderful wildlife that we just go out and enjoy. We could see several mountain ranges from our home. So we just enjoy the outside.
Yes. And God's creation.
Yes. It's
like
amazing.
Okay, this is totally off subject, but is it expensive to live there? You don't have to give me numbers, but like when talking just America in general, I mean, because I might be moving there. I'm just wondering if we're about to be empty nesters, why not live on an island in the Pacific Northwest?
It is expensive to live here. Yes.
Well, yes. If you can see using binoculars and see whales, like that would be amazing.
I know. But again, that's only been one time.
Hey, I would take it and hold on to that. Yes. I would hold on to that. Well, my husband, well, talking about play, my husband, I met him at college, and in college, his undergrad degree was in recreational management. So I basically always joke and says, my husband got a degree in playing. Like he grew up in a family. It was mom and dad and then 2 boys. They grew up in Pennsylvania, and that's what they did. As a family unit, they played. They did all the sports, all the outdoor recreation. And so that was so ingrained in him and his love of community and connection through play that he majored in recreational management. And so he definitely brings that to our family, which is so amazing because I can be so project focused and he's so people and play focused that we really learn to balance each other out and bring the other one into that space. So I help him with projects. He helps me with playing and people, and it's a great match made in heaven, literally. But so how did God bring you into this space of parent coaching with play as an expertise part of that? Tell us a little about your story.
So I grew up in the South, and Jesus was a part of my culture, but I didn't know anything about a daily walk with
Mm.
Jesus until I got to college. And when I got into college, I met these friends who were like so different from each other. One was a theater major, one was outdoor recreation,
Oh
one was
yeah.
an English major, and they were all different. And I was like, how are you guys friends? You're
Mm.
like, worlds apart. And they're like, Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, well, Jesus is for when you die. That's what I had been
Yep.
taught.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no. And they showed me this, and they were Young Life leaders. And
Mm.
I don't know if you're familiar with the ministry of Young Life, but I jumped in, and
Mm-hmm.
Young Life uses play and humor to break down walls for teenagers. And and it is where I fell in love with ministry, fell more in love with Jesus, and really fell in love with this playful way of teaching people about Jesus and God. And that just kind of worked its way through my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I became a children's and family pastor for a while. I opened a Christian daycare for a year, opened a Christian preschool,
Oh
and
wow.
all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
As I started to do more and more, I am, as my husband says, a perpetual learner. So I started to study about the science behind play
Mm-hmm.
and the educational benefits of play. And I was just like, wow, if it works this well in a school setting or a classroom setting, imagine what it can do for our faith. And
Wow.
so I started using it at home with my own kids and in the classrooms that I was in with the discipleship aspect too. And I was just blown away. And
Wow. I
yeah.
love
And so the
that.
parent coach thing happened when I stepped out of churches and preschools and came home, but I still felt called to serve moms
Mm-hmm.
and families and help them to bring playfulness and discipleship into their homes.
That is so important. And it's so funny because when my husband and I, so after he got his degree, right, in recreational management, I got my degrees. We graduated, got married 2 weeks later, moved to Texas from Ohio and Pennsylvania to start a K Life ministry, which is very similar to Young Life. It's a community-wide, uh, basically a community-wide youth group that met at our house, and we did use play. It's
Yeah.
so funny because I didn't even think about that, but that is that connection to Young Life and K Life. So that's neat. That's really, really neat. And I love how God has given you that revelation of play and discipleship and play and relationship with Jesus. And so what does the Bible have to say about play?
The Bible talks about abundant life,
Mm.
complete joy, I mean, throughout. But one of my favorites is in Ecclesiastes 11:8. It says, however many years one may have, let them enjoy them all.
Amen.
And I just love that verse so much because it doesn't say you have to enjoy every moment of every
Mhm.
day,
Mhm.
but to enjoy the years.
Mm.
And so my goal is that I can look back on a year, like it's January, reflecting back on 22. Did I enjoy the year as a whole?
Mhm.
Yes, there are going to be parts that are hard and that
Mhm.
I didn't enjoy, but those
Mm.
years and play is what enables us to enjoy those years. And so I think, and then John 10:10 about
Mhm.
abundant life. Jesus wants us to enjoy
Mhm.
this life that he's given us and that, he came and I'm sure he played and laughed with his disciples. I can't imagine 13 guys walking around being
Yeah.
stoic all the time,
Yeah.
And so just being able to embrace the gifts that God has given us and to enjoy the things that we're blessed to have
Mhm.
is, I think woven throughout the Bible.
Absolutely. And that's part of the core of this podcast, My Full Life and Faith Leaps. And it's based on John 10:10. And, the thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. But he's come that we might have life and life more abundantly. And you're so right. That full part of the full life is enjoying the life that God has given us and the life that Jesus paid the price for.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
so I love it so much. Okay. So can you talk to us a little bit about what play is? Sometimes in our mind, we might think play is Barbie time, or play is going outside and throwing a football, or play is, a lot of times people think play is a luxury and it's just for vacation, when in actuality, play is a necessity. So talk to us a little bit more about what play is and what play isn't.
So, play for me is anything that helps me to enjoy God and this life. And so, some days for me, play is a really good cup of tea when it's
Mm.
still hot. And
Yeah.
I have my kids are all 10 and under. And so I will sometimes take, and make my tea just right and hide behind the peninsula in our kitchen on the floor. So my kids are playing in the other room and I'm hiding and just
Mm.
savoring a cup of tea.
Yeah.
It can be that simple.
Yes.
But play can also be vacations and big trips. But it can be any small thing
Mm.
that just gives us a moment of, I am
Mm.
blessed.
Yes.
This is good.
Yeah.
Life is good. And so it might be Barbies, but there are times when we play with our kids and they are playing and we are momming. We're
Mm.
not technically playing because we don't enjoy it, but that still has relational benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also, find ways that find things we enjoy and invite our kids into our
Mm.
play. So
Mm.
if you love to spend time in nature and go for walks, inviting your kids to do that as well. And so finding that balance of this is what each person in my family likes to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help each person in my family feel seen and valued and fulfilled with some joy
Mm-hmm.
by making sure we have all that different types of play.
Mm.
And play makes us more enjoyable to be around
Mm.
also. I mean, think about those really kind of boring people who are just into their work and being serious all the time. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
not as enjoyable to be around. And we want our kids and our families to want to be with us.
Yes. Yes.
That is part of what makes
Yes.
it a necessity.
Yes.
I want my kids to enjoy me and to like
Mhm.
me. And they do that more when I am playful and having fun.
I think the key word that I heard you say was enjoy. Like if you enjoy it, which is like enjoy it and fills you with joy. If you are enjoying something, a cup of hot tea, a quiet moment, throwing the football in the backyard, like whatever brings you joy and you enjoy is a form of play.
Absolutely.
And
Reading a book. I mean, listening to
yes,
podcasts.
yes,
Yeah.
it's playful, joyful moments. And I love, kind of what you said too, is that our whole life isn't full of that, right? There's things we have to do. There's times throughout the year where things are hard, but there are the moments and there are the times that we're intentional, like you said, to play with each family member and do what they enjoy so they feel seen and they feel heard. I've heard it said and I forget what book it was, but they were talking about the difference between men and women and connection, and how men connect through shared activity, through that experience. And so throwing a football in the backyard, and men might not be talking, but they are connecting through that shared experience, whereas women tend to more connect through intimate conversation, through deep level of conversations. But each family member is different. And I think if we can, like you talked about being a mom, like we might still be momming and our kids are playing, and we might not really love to get on the floor and play Barbies for an hour each day. And not saying that you have to do that, but like maybe 5 minutes, but seeing them enjoy as a mom, if we could hold on to that part of the interaction and get the value from that interaction, from them getting joy, not from us enjoying, we get joy from them getting joy.
Yes. We also, even 5 minutes of intentional time with each child, and in play, when children play, they have an opportunity to exert some control. And so letting them, if you're playing dolls or Barbies, letting them determine the situation and who's going where and change their mind 12 times.
Yes.
That is filling up their control needs, their little bucket that needs to be filled with control. And if they get that, then you have more leverage when it's time to go and you need them to put their shoes on, because they've had that control filled up. And so play can actually help you in power struggles and discipline situations. I've read that a child who has one-on-one play with a parent every day, or at least most days, for even just 5 to 10 minutes, there will be 50% less discipline issues.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, even, there's benefits beyond just getting to see your child enjoy.
So good. That's so good. And that totally makes sense from a child development standpoint, from them having some control. And as they're growing in independence, and as they're growing in knowing who they are and what they like, that completely makes sense, that gives them more control, and then allows us, when it matters most, right? Choosing our battles, and when it matters most for us to give them the choices, they've already feel like they have some control over their life. Oh, I love that. I mean, I remember the times when our girls would be pretending to cook at the kitchen, their little kitchenette set, and asking me what I want to eat, and, making the little dinner menus, and then cooking it, coming back, and I'm, this is so good. Now what do you want, mommy? Those times. But I look back now and I'm like, those were precious times. Those were purposeful times. And like, now that our girls are young adults, it goes by so fast, and each stage has a purpose. And like you said, there's more to the purpose than just the enjoyment, even though that's a great purpose. Developmentally, it's also helping them as well.
Yes.
Okay. So for our busy women who are listening, and they're like, they are just head down, probably butt up, in the midst of even walking out what God's called them to do. And like, they have this vision, they have this purpose, and they're all in. And it's hard. When you're building and you're starting and you're growing and you're working, it can be hard, and you're just so focused and want to be a good steward and want to use this time. And maybe you've given yourself a certain time, like this thing needs to work by this time. And so you're doing this. So, okay. So busy women.
Yes.
For those that, and I have some friends and clients who, they didn't grow up, like playing was not something that was part of their family culture. So they feel guilty, even taking time off, not working, playing. What do you say to those mamas and those women, and how can they bring even a little bit of time for play in their life?
Yes. So I call it micro play. And so that is play that takes anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes. And it could be a dance party in your kitchen. It could be, again, that really good cup of tea, or maybe there's like a fancy coffee that you're like, it's just too expensive. I'm not going to do that every day. But once in a while, you
Yeah.
just get the drink that brings joy to your heart. And, just those small things, telling a story, if, telling a story to somebody that brings you joy, whatever it is that you enjoy, finding a way to do it in a short moment. You don't need to plot out, 2 weeks to be able to take this massive cross country trip or
Mhm.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
that would be fun and that would be
Mhm.
playful. But maybe you love to learn something new. And so you research something on Google and read an article.
Mhm.
And there you go. That's microplay. You've just read something, you've learned something new, and that is playful to you. Go for a quick walk. I think
Mhm.
often we're doing things that are playful, but we're not recognizing it as
Mhm.
play. And so when we can bring some intention to those
Yeah.
things and like, okay, God, I'm about to walk to the mailbox. This might be the only time I get outside today.
Mhm.
Would you please let me experience
Mhm.
your presence in this walk to the mailbox?
So good.
Just that a little bit of intentionality,
Yeah.
and then, watch how he shows up and just enjoy it.
Oh, it's so good. I love that. I love micro play and the intentionality behind it. Sometimes I walk to the mailbox because I just have to get up off my computer, and we have doves that will just be on top of our garage. And I'm like, thank you, Holy Spirit, for being around my home. And it's just those moments where you just stop and enjoy.
Yeah.
And the intentionality behind it is so important. I love that. Oh, Joy, well, I think we could talk for a while about this, but as we wrap this up, I know just your perspective on enjoyment and play and discipleship and our time with Jesus is just so refreshing. And so I know people are going to want more. So where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on my website, createdtoplay.com, or on my podcast, Playfully Faithful Parenting.
Oh, so good. Y'all check Joy out. I'll have the information in the show notes. Joy, thank you so much for bringing just an intentional enjoyment piece to our lives today. It was so fun.
Oh, my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and we'll see you next time on my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast. Well, friends, thank you for joining us today on my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast. If you enjoyed our time together and are taking away a nugget that has inspired your soul and success, would you share this episode with a loved one who could use it too? And if you haven't already, take a moment to rate and review this podcast and help me help others fuel and fulfill their faith journeys. Until next time, I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, a 3-time surrogate, speaker, and strategizer who loves to help you birth your God-given dreams at home and around the world. Now go do all the things God has called and created you to do with the grace and gifts God has given you.